Picard Season 2, Episode 2 is not hot garbage for one simple reason: everyone is suddenly transported to an alternate timeline. So it doesn't really matter how silly or dumb or poorly written any characters or plots were in the previous season or the previous show, because everyone is like a chicken with its head cut off, also referred to as the fish out of water trope. This is a giant lampshade on the we're in a fantasy dream world now, let's play around with our characters. So because science fiction, you get a pass for believability. And all of this, and in case I interpreted this wrong, is to show Picard that even in a world where the Federation is now the Confederation, which is a racist conquering group of destroyers, which is really no different than the mirror universe in Star Trek already, and I'm questioning why they didn't simply use that universe, is that even then, Picard is still alone. He has no one he loves because of his focus on duty. He's apparently too scared to love. But that gets completely overlooked by the events of the story as we go to each character and to each scene. Now, that's just my interpretation. I could be wrong because Q is a bit confusing here and says to Picard something like this:
Atonement, maybe even forgiveness.
Forgiveness for what?
I think you know.
So we're kind of left with trying to figure out, what does Picard feel sorry for? And that could be many things. We have no idea.
I have had enough of your stupid patronizing.
So Picard is the most famous war general of the Confederation, 7 of 9, now referred to as her Earth name Annika, and is the president of the Confederation, who married a shorter Mexican man, which I find kind of funny, but it makes the story go by easier when the main characters are in places of high authority. We have Raffi as a high-level cop who takes care of riots. Rios is a colonel blowing up some Vulcan ships. Elnor is a possible freedom fighter, but he gets captured immediately. And Dr. Jurati is just a scientist type who always works for the Confederation, and her AI is a Patton Oswalt voiced in the form of a virtual cartoon cat. And Soji is just nowhere to be found. So that's good. No Mary Sue. For lore, we do learn the Borg Queen can hear the echoes of other Borg Queens throughout space-time, which is interesting. So she's immediately aware that there's something wrong with the timeline here. Also, this is what's left of the Borg. They've all been wiped out. So would I recommend checking out episode 2? I pretty much like all the Dark Mirror Star Trek episodes in any show, so this may as well be one, even if it's just an alternate timeline story. One thing that caught my attention was something happens in Los Angeles in 2024 that causes the great shift in the future. And I hope to all hopes that we're not referring to the presidential election that's coming up. Considering Orange Man Bad was one of the ideas of the show, I wouldn't be surprised. Two things I didn't like was Picard commenting on Q potentially being mentally sick. That doesn't make too much sense to me. How would a human, even Picard, who probably knows Q the best, tell from the human facade that is Q, a god, that he's mentally unbalanced? Like, what would be your baseline? What would be your comparison to look at? That's just stupid. The second thing I didn't like was where we have an execution scene of the Borg Queen, which is the climax of the story, I believe. It was just drawn out and silly. The set wasn't very good. Everything was like, what the hell's going on? But other than that, it was a fun, crazy episode. If you like Dark Mirror-style stories from Star Trek, you'll probably enjoy this. You don't have to know anything about Picard. You'll be fine. You'll just watch it and be like, hey, that's crazy. And that's that.